Marjorie Taylor Greene sat down with Alex Jones talking about COVID, and she is they've decided that this is why Anthony Fauci, right or wrong, needs to step down, because I don't see any reason why he needs to still be the face of this, because people like Alex Jones and Marjorie Taylor Greene, he's outlived his usefulness, in my opinion, and now he's just this boogeyman for her. And she makes another claim yet again about the efficacy of ivermectin, which is completely false. And another outrageous claim as well.
This is truly mental illness. Wearing a mask today after 2 years of this Chinese virus that has infected our country, this man-made Chinese virus that Dr. Fauci sent our tax dollars to and contributed to, but people still wearing masks. I mean, it's truly mentally ill. We know the masks don't work and the vaccines don't work. People that are vaccinated are still getting COVID, but I think that people really have blood on their hands that have stopped the prescriptions of ivermectin, refused people who have had sick family members in the hospital of not being able to take ivermectin or any other kind of life-saving treatment or therapy. I mean, I truly think that we need to investigate all of these people and investigate the deaths that are reported on the VAERS system and hold people accountable, because it's Dr. Fauci and anyone at the CDC or anyone involved that stopped life-saving treatments and therapies and people died. Well, I think they're guilty of murder.
We're still doing this ivermectin shit, huh?
Notice though how, like, once it was established for sure that hydroxychloroquine was bullshit, they don't mention it anymore. Like, that was it. This we just need that official 100% clear study from, because ivermectin studies, they're still out there because people, and the thing is, ivermectin is very accessible in especially third world countries where ivermectin was used to treat other things before COVID. So I feel like that is what the difference is between ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine.
It's just a candidate for the possible one that has unclear signals scientifically, so grifters can suggest it's being suppressed.
And also when it's more accessible in that way too, Binder, it allows for, I don't know, people who listen to this garbage to buy it up as much as they want. And I don't know who that enriches. It must be, really benevolent people who are not responsible for the mass vaccination and evil vaccines that are being put into people's arms, right? Just like must be a different, distinct company. Oh, wait, ivermectin is also produced by pharmaceutical companies, and yet they can never actually reckon with that.
Right. I mean, I think also part of this is like the right, and also to some extent the center left at our national level of politics are desperately, and have been desperately since the beginning of the pandemic, or since it got really out of control. And it was clear that it was going to be out of control more so in America than anywhere else, to come up with a reason why it's just okay and why it's really not their fault, either the fault of those in the government whose job it was to actually establish this infrastructure in response to the possibility of a pandemic, and also the people in the media whose job it was to actually inform us that it was not happening, that they weren't doing those things consistently enough to force it to happen. And so all we can really do, I think, in their opinions, is to ignore all the context that caused 1 million people to die and just move on from this sort of new starting point of now COVID is endemic and no one did anything in America really to stop that from happening because of our just complete abandonment of any sort of accountability or any tools to hold people accountable. So, maybe we can start building that for a future thing, but COVID's already over, and there should just be we should accept there's going to be no changes to the way we do things as a result. And that's just such a fatalistic view. And it's one that I think if people really believe, then they need to start really coming up with real plans for personal climate change survival. Because if this is a sign of what's things are going to be when, we can no longer ignore that climate emergencies are happening so frequently as, to be simultaneous in this country and also around the world, they're just going to try to shunt it onto some other person. It's, big pharma. Yeah, we've been empowering big pharma for decades, but, now they're the bad guy because we need someone who's not us. And, big oil is going going to be the problem with climate change, even though we've been expanding oil and allowing it to happen and advocating it should happen up until the point we couldn't ignore the consequences. And so, I don't know what the solution now that we've gotten this far is, but it doesn't seem to be to accept like the politicians and media's narrative from a standpoint that like, well, now this is just the way we live, because like that's just how it always becomes. Like that's the way we went from not living with a million school shootings a year to like now we live with it. And they're trying to make that be the case for COVID too, so you don't examine how school shootings and everything else it is, and how much at fault they are.
It's a good parallel with school shootings because Alex Jones specifically, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is someone who consumed his content. I believe she was one of the crisis actor people. I mean, Bradley, if you don't mind looking that up, just so I don't say the wrong thing there. I believe that she made indications that she believed that some of the victims of school shootings were crisis actors. Obviously, Alex Jones has made that claim many times and has lost lawsuits because of those claims. And so, like, anything that's deadly and beyond our control, someone like Alex Jones and someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene, they find a way to either say this is fake and here's why, or here is a way that you can direct your angst about these phenomenons. Here we go. Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Parkland was a
right. She said exactly. Yeah. Okay, so she was a part of the false flag push. But shoot, what was I saying? Basically they allow for their, if you believe, you'll either believe all of this is planned and fake, or here's this boogeyman that doesn't challenge capitalism in any way. It makes it about the Jews. Let's be real about what Alex Jones is doing. It makes it about the Chinese, which is what they're doing in that clip there. It makes it about Fauci. Here are these people you can push your anger and angst about this onto, as opposed to like actually looking at things systemically.